Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about how exceptions are occurring and how exceptions are handled in the MIPS architecture. Uh, Initially the exceptions are the unexpected events from within the processor that disturbs the program execution. Consider for an example, consider a classroom scenario. Case number one, consider this boy and he is talking inside the class. So at that time teacher has to stop the lecture and she has to handle the boy first, and after settling him she has to continue the class. Case number two, another teacher is entering into the class for making an important announcement. The new teacher is asking permission to the class teacher. So, and the class teacher is stopping the class and giving permission to the teacher to complete her announcement. So, after that, the class teacher has to continue her lecture where she actually stopped. So, consider this class as a processor. So, teaching is the process going on. The boy was an unexpected event that disrupts the process of execution. So this is an exception which is happening internally from the class. The new teacher was an unexpected external event that disrupts the process execution. So this is an interrupt actually. So exceptions and interrupts are unexpected events that disturbs the normal flow of instruction execution. Exceptions are from within the processor. Interrupts are coming from outside the processor. So these are all some examples of exceptions and interrupts. So IO device requests are all coming from external to the processor, so it is an interrupt. So system call is coming from the operating system, so it is an internal exception. Arithmetic overflow is an internal exception. Undefined instruction also an internal exception. It is calculated only when the execution done by the ALU. Hardware malfunction can be happen either the hardware malfunction happening inside the processor or sometimes from the outside the processor at that time. So it may be an exception or it may be an interrupt. When an interrupt or exception occurred, the processor will stop the normal flow of execution and allows the interrupt to allow the interrupt handler to run the interrupt service routine. Once it gets over, the processor will begin the execution from the address where it actually stopped. So we have three different events that will trigger an exception. One is arithmetic overflow. So arithmetic overflow is due to when an ALU operation is happening and it is detecting that the output of the ALU is larger than the 32-bit size which can able to hold by a MIPS 32 register. So at that time an arithmetic overflow happens. So arithmetic underflow that happen when the minimum required size of the data that cannot able to load it to the register as a result of an ALU. So in both the cases arithmetic overflow will be thrown as an exception. So undefined instruction. So in the MIPS 32 architecture, last six bits of the instruction refers the functionality that has to be handled by the ALU. So if it is an unknown functionality, so at that time an undefined instruction exception will be thrown. So system call is happening when a very important operating system functionality has to be handled by the processor. So at that time the normal execution of the processor will get affected and the priority will be given to the very important functionality from the operating system. So it is a system call. So these are all the three important events that will trigger an exception. So we need to know how these exceptions are handled in the MIPS architecture. So when an exception occurs, the processor will perform first thing it has to stop the execution and the instruction, the address of the instruction which causing the exception that will be copied to the exception program counter EPC. The address of the event, the address of the instruction which causing the exception will be available in the program counter now. That has to be copied to the exception program counter, and reason for the exception will be recorded in the cause register. So the cause register is a 32-bit register, but we are not going to use the 32-bit completely. We are going to looking on to the last two digit to understand what is the cause for that particular exception. If the last two digit is 00, it is an external interrupt. In the case of exceptions, we have three combination. So 01 is for the undefined instruction. It is an instruction bus error. 10 is the combination for arithmetic overflow. 11 is the combination for system call. So by seeing these cause registers last two digit, so processor can understand the reason for the exception. So after recording the exception, so processor has to resist other exceptions to happen. So by left shifting the status registers bits. So when an exception occurs, the processor begins executing the code that performs an action response to the exception. Actually, some action has to be taken, right, in order to overcome that exception. This action may involve killing a process, outputting an error message, communicating with an external device or something, sometimes crashing the entire system by initiating a blue screen. At that time the CPU activity get halted. So for example, if you are running a video or audio, if any error message is thrown by the CPU, means that is mainly due to some exception might have happened internally. So these events are handled by exception handler or event handler code which is present inside the operating system kernel. So after the handler code is executed, it may possible to continue the execution after the instruction where the exceptions occurred. So processor will be continuing its tasks from the address where it actually stopped. So after handling the exception, so processor has to return back to the original flow of the process. For that, the exception program counter. This is the actual address from which the processor has to continue its task. It has to be loaded back to the program counter. So the normal instruction can be fetched by the processor for execution. So it has to re-enable the exception. So initially it has blocked all other exception to happen by left shifting the status register, right? Now the processor has to re-enable the exceptions options by right shifting the status register. There are two methods for handling multiple type of exceptions if it is happening inside the MIPS architecture. The previous case what we have seen is for a single exception. So this is the case where we are going to handle the exceptions inside the MIPS architecture if multiple exceptions are happening at the same time. First one is polled interrupt. So here polling mechanism is taken place. The interrupts are happening due to the external events, right? These external events may be sometimes different types of IO devices may be requesting for the CPU time. So at that time, the processor has to decide which device has to give priority based on the functionality to be handled by that particular device. So based on the polling mechanism, the interrupt handler will be allocated for that particular device to take care of the CPU time. Second one is the vectored interrupt. In a vector interrupt, the cause register content will be read by the processor first in order to understand actually what is the cause for that exception or interrupt. So control is transferred to that particular address when it is determined. So these are all two different vector address for two different exceptions. So like this, every exceptions as well as interrupt will be having its own vector address. So for example, in this case a CPU time is requested by a particular device by requesting and raising an interrupt request. So CPU will be acknowledging by giving an interrupt acknowledgement. So the CPU time will be allocated for this particular device. Consider a case n number of devices are requesting for the interrupt request. At that time, the processor has to allocate its time by raising the interrupt acknowledgement. So it is not at all possible, right? So we will be having an extra interrupt vector table. So every interrupt will be directed to a particular vector address. Here we will be having separate interrupt handler will be available in that particular address. So each interrupt will be taken care by that particular handler. So this is the concept about vector interrupt. So inside our MIPS architecture, MIPS pipeline architecture, so this is the way arithmetic overflow is handled. So we will be having exception program counter as well as a cost register. So when an exception is thrown, so that particular the instruction which is responsible for that exception, that particular address will be available in the program counter. That address will be copied to the exception program counter now, and the reason for that exception will be recorded in the cost register. So already we have seen that arithmetic overflow is having a vector address of 8000180 that will be loaded to the program counter, and that particular interrupt handler will be taking care of, or exception handler will be taking care of that particular exception. That execution will be happen through the MIPS data path, pipeline data path. So once the exception is handled, the EPC, the exception program counter address will be copied back to the program counter in order to do the normal execution. So during this time, when an exception occurred, along with the program counter value, the register content also will be copied to some other register. Those type of registers are known as context register, and the data switching between these two registers are known as context switching. And once the exception or interrupt is handled, again the registers will be copied back to the register data will be copied back to the actual register. Then the normal execution will take place. So this is the way exceptions as well as interrupt are handled in MIPS 32 architecture. Thank you.